ISO 27001, Annex A 5.1, Policies for Information Security. Right, we're going to start doing implementation videos now on the Annex A controls. This one specifically looking at information security policies. You've got a load of resources on the hightable.io website that are going to help you out. There's a video on how to implement it, a step-by-step guide and about how you deploy them. There's a blog that you can read that gives you a lot more detail. But for now, let me give you an introduction and a bit of a deep dive into information security policies for ISO 27001. So ISO 27001 is founded on risks and risk management and also on policies. Now, one of the things that we see out in the real world is a little bit of a misunderstanding around what policies are and what policies you need. So let's make a start with that. So policies are statements of what you do. They're documents that state what it is that you do for certain topics. They're not statements of how you do it. How you do it is covered in your process documentation and in your own individual process implementations. We separate out the process of what you do from how you do it, because by having a policy that states what we do, we can communicate that to staff and to stakeholders that clearly shows what it is that we're doing. And we can share those externally under audit or with potential clients without compromising things like confidentiality or information security by not having specific project steps in there. So often what we see is policies are written in such a way that they include process steps. These may be spoke to you. They may include people's names, right? They may include email addresses and telephone numbers and internal operations. We don't want to expose that internal operation externally, and we don't want to confuse that necessarily internally. So we separate those out and we have policies. When it comes to ISO 27001, the 2022 update, a version of the standard calls out having a high-level information security policy and then having topic-specific policies. I think this is a fantastic move away from the old style of having one giant policy with everything in it. It allows us to communicate particular topics, specific topics to the relevant people without over confusing people. We don't want to put cryptography policy in something that's going to be shared with staff or cleaning staff or reception staff when it's just not relevant to them. Call center staff don't necessarily need to know that. So we're going to have a high-level a high-level information security policy, and then we're going to have topic-specific policies under it. The quickest way to do this is clearly to download the ISO 27001 toolkit, the ultimate toolkit for ISO 27001 certification, because I've written all of these for you. I've pre-populated them for you with what good looks like. Just a little bit of a rebrand and they're good to go. On the website, you can actually download individual policies, and there is a sub toolkit where you can just download the policy pack. But that's going to be the quickest way to do it. If you don't want to do that, be sure to head over to my YouTube channel or over to the hightable.io, where I go through in detail how you can create these policies in under 5 minutes each. So I show you that and I give you a tutorial on that. So to satisfy the requirements of ISO 27001 Annex A 5.1, there's a couple of things that we're going to do. We're going to write our policies. Our policies are going to be based on the controls that we have, and they're going to be based on our business risk. So we will have done our risk identification. We will be seeking controls to mitigate those risks, and we will be writing policies that back up those controls. They say what it is that we do as an organization. So we're going to write our policies. We're going to choose our policies that are specific to us. If we don't do software development, it is pointless having a software development policy. If we are fully remote, it is pointless having a physical security policy that covers the things that we don't have. CCTV, perimeter fences, things like that. So there are sort of ways that we can go around that and sort of ways that we can address that. But first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to write our policies. We're going to choose our policies. The policies are going to be owned by somebody within the organization. We want to assign ownership to these policies. Ownership and accountability. This is the person that's going to be ultimately responsible. So we're going to assign that accountability. It doesn't necessarily mean that they do the work in writing it. And if you're an information security manager like me, it's going to be you that's writing it, no doubt. But they're going to own it going forward and they're going to be responsible for it. Once we have those information security policies written, we've got our accountability assigned, we're going to get those policies approved. Now, using whatever internal approval mechanism that you've got, you need to get those policies approved. If you're following my ISO 27001 certainty methodology and or using the ISO 27001 toolkit, then the way that we're going to get those approved is by sharing those at the Information Security Management meeting, walking through those in the Information Security Management meeting, seeking approval for those policies, and then minuting the meeting and minuting that approval. In the implementation guide, where I talk you through that, I also say that before they go out for release, when they become the next release, it's good practice from my perspective to write in the version control the change that happened, which was policy was approved at management review meeting on what such and such a date. So it just can show you, and it's an instant visual identification that that policy is now live. Once the policy has been approved, you then need to distribute that policy. So the policy is going to go out to the people to whom it is relevant. In a small organization, it's usually the case that all policies will go to nearly everybody. But in larger organizations, as we said, because we have topic specific policies, then we're going to target them to relevant people. From an admin point of view, belts and braces, could you have a table of the teams that you've distributed which policies to, or could you automate it in some way? Yeah, you can. It's not a requirement of the standard. You work out how that distribution works best for you. Once we've communicated out those policies, we're going to communicate where those policies are. And those policies are going to be located in an area that is accessible to the people that we distribute them to, right? Makes common sense. So they need to be readily and easily accessible. Then what we need is an acknowledgement from people that they have read, understood, and accept those policies. There are many different ways to do that, from getting an email back from everybody and keeping email copies, getting people to sign copies, distributing from your LMS learning management systems, and using those and the sign-off methodologies in those, or you may have some other way of seeking and proving that approval, but you need to get those policies approved. So we've created our policies, we've assigned accountability to them, we've approved them, we've distributed them, and we've seen that they have been approved. The next step that we have in that is that when anything changes, and at least annually, we're going to update our policies. Even if it is the case that all we do is put policy review, no update in our version control and increment the version number, just to show that at least we've done a review of it on an annual basis. And of course, if something's changed, we're going to put the change in there in the dot increment. For documentation and how to manage your documentation and your numbering, check out one of the other videos that's coming up imminently. So at that stage, our policies are pretty much done, right? They're pretty much done. From a top tip perspective, what I would suggest is that you communicate throughout the year on where those policies are. It isn't just a one and done. That yes, you include them in your communication plan, which there are other videos on, and that you are regularly communicating those and pushing those policies out. We don't want to just communicate them once a year. We don't want to just get them approved once a year. Ideally, we want to keep reinforcing that message. And of course, it's going to be part of your HR onboarding process so that people are made aware of policies when they join your organization. What are some of the other top tips that I can say? Things that auditors like to look for is they like to look at very simple things like document markup. They want evidences that the version control matches in the headers, footers, and in the version control table. They want to see that those policies were approved. They do want to see that those policies were distributed and that people have signed up and agreed to them. When it comes to which policies you need, the ISO 27001 standard does not say you need a policy for every single control, and that rightly makes common sense. When I created the ISO 27001 toolkit, I did it to remove fluff and filler, right? There are loads of policies. People regularly ask me, do you have such and such a policy? And the answer is usually no, because the standard doesn't require it and it adds no value. So yes, we can generate policy after policy after policy, but if the policy adds no value and has very little content and the standard only requires a process, then we're going to rely solely on that process, and that is absolutely fine. So my name is Stuart Barker. I am the ISO 27001 Ninja. Thanks for joining me on the first of the ISO 27001 Annex A videos. There's only a 90 odd left to go as we go deep dive on each of the Annex A clauses. But until the next video, be sure to check out the blog that goes along with this video for much more detail. But until the next one, peace out.